Welcome to On the Road from beautiful Detroit, Michigan, home of Kiwanis. It all started right here, folks, and we're here in Michigan to open 8 clubs here this week, and we'll hear from the mastermind behind this, Governor Larry Memmer, shortly. But first, I want to give you a couple of updates. First, on your international president, Polly Latt. Polly and I have stayed in constant contact, and in fact, we spoke 4 times during this past week. His health did prevent him, per his doctor's orders, from coming to the International Board meeting in April in Indianapolis. However, I don't believe anything is going to stop Polly Latt from being in Orlando to celebrate with everyone down in beautiful Disney a great year in 2019-20. And Polly, we're all with you, we're all behind you, and we're all praying for you, so hang in there, bud. But in terms of the years, in terms of new clubs this year, at the end of April of this year, we had opened 210 new clubs. Now, just to put that in perspective, the first 4 years of the formula, none of those years resulted in opening 210 clubs for all 12 months of the Kiwanis year. And so through the first 7 months of the Kiwanis year, we actually have more clubs than were open in the first 12 months of the Kiwanis year of the first 4 years of the formula. That's a great job by the team, and I think we're well on our way to opening a minimum of 350 or more clubs. Now, in our total existence of 104 years, we've only opened 300 or more new clubs 11 times. So this is going to be the 12th time for sure, and that's a tribute to Polly and the team that's right here in Michigan to open 8 clubs here this week. So great job by Michigan, great job by the team, and we really appreciate the hard work. And so, we want to bring in the mastermind behind the Michigan Memmer machine, and we know that's really referring to his lovely wife, but we'll still let him come on the show first instead. But Larry Memmer, and Larry is a card-carrying member of the Eye of the Tiger team, meaning that he was active in many, many districts throughout the last year and a half, helping open new clubs. And so we're just paying back Larry Memmer for all that hard work he's done by bringing in 50 of our best friends from across the country to help Larry get 8 clubs open here this week. So Larry Memmer, come on down. So Larry, now you and I have had kind of the same kind of a fight kind of ongoing as tastes great or less filling. And what's more important, closing the deal or the pre-work? And now that I have you on the camera here in front of the whole Kiwanis world, I'd just like to get your under oath here, by the way, of what is the most important thing in opening new clubs, bud?
Well, if I'm smart, I'm going to say it's the closing.
and nobody's accused you of being smart.
Right, I know.
So but, what are you going to say, Larry?
But I still think that they're equally as important. I'm a politician, so I try to.
Yeah. Now, what office are you running for? Is that international board or
Yeah,
what?
right.
Man, okay. So Larry Memmer, folks, he really can talk out of both sides of his mouth and do it very well. So no wonder he can open clubs. So, but I do want to talk a little bit, kidding aside, about the pre-work and just have you kind of walk us through some of the things that you and the Michigan team did in putting together this event, getting ready for 50 people from across the country and 8 club sites. So why don't you kind of lead us through on that, Larry?
Well, first of all, I have to thank the Michigan team because they certainly were behind me in making this effort successful. But this process started back in January when Jim said we were going to open 6 clubs here, and then he decided to load it up with out-of-towners to like 49 or 50, And I said, what are we going to do with all these people? So that's how we got to 8, and I was thrilled to do it because we have the team put together to do this. So it started back when we determined that we were going to open the 8 clubs. The process was to select the locations. We had some that we already knew what we wanted to do, and then we worked on some additional ones that we think are going to be successful. So then we had to do all the pre-work, and Cindy Padilla, our membership chair, was doing a lot of work on the demographics of all these locations, so we knew what we were working with when we went into these locations. So we started that process, and then the process was we had to look at all the people that were coming in and how were we going to put them to work, and we had to break it down into about 3 different sections. One, we had to find the people that were willing to go out and learn how to open a club based on this criteria that we've developed with the Eye of the Tiger and with the club openings that we've done for the last 2 or 2.5 years that I've been involved with it. So that was one side of it. The second side of it was to find sponsoring clubs, because we have to have a sponsoring club, and then to find 2 coaches for each location. So that process, we had that pretty well in place, and then we had some changes we had to make here at the last minute, but that was the process, and that's an important process that every club that you do for an opening, you need to have a good sponsoring club and at least 2 coaches that can help with that club for primarily the first year to get it steady and get it moving. So that was the other part of it. Then the other part of it is drivers. We had to find people who, with all 48 of you coming in, we had to be able to get you from one place to another. So then we had to work on, from that aspect of it, to get drivers lined up. Then we had to figure out with these 48 people how we're going to get them from Metro Airport to Southfield to the hotel. And so we did that. So we've had all the drivers. So everybody arrived and on time and here, and we were ready to start on Sunday evening. Club openings has been a really a goal of mine for a number of years. When I look back at Michigan particularly, and I look at what's happened in the last 4 or 5 years with membership, I've said this many times in my talks in the Michigan district, but if we look at what we close every year and what we open every year, it's pretty much a wash. And I think that's probably true in a lot of districts. So the only way we can improve that is to open more clubs. So if we lose 5 clubs a year, we need to open 10, because that's the only way we're going to grow membership, not only in Michigan, but in the district and in Kiwanis. So I feel very strongly about the fact that, and I don't take away from the fact that, yes, we need to work with our existing clubs, and we do that. But I still think one of the most important things we do is to be able to open clubs and use the process that Jim has developed over the last, particularly the last 2 years since he was international president. And I thank him for that.
Yeah. And Larry, I just want to make sure if you've been checked out for loss of memory or amnesia or anything, because I'm thinking the way that I recall it is that we were doing 5 club sites, and then Larry Member actually increased it to 6, and then to 7, and then to 8, you know, and it's like, I said, 8 is great, you know, if Larry Member says he can do it, it'll get done. So, but, and I could add that was crazy 8s, I think, that you were talking about. But, you know, the thing is that it's really been kind of an all-star cast, both within the Michigan team and then from across the country. And when I say that, you know, Michigan, you had past international president Sue Petterson involved and in charge of picking everybody up at the airport. Now, is there any truth to the rumor that that is not the first time that Sue Petterson's been seen in an airport picking people up? Is that
No,
is that
that's
true
not
or
the
not?
first time.
So,
No, that's not the first time.
okay, now Sue isn't here, so I can
I
say
can't
that.
defend
But
it.
she also was my classmate and one of my best friends in my class of governors. So certainly, Sue, I still love you, and your mom's cookies are great. And so, you know, the other thing is, you know, you got your district secretary, executive director, whatever you call him, and he's, you know, out in the field working shoulder to shoulder along with us. And then, you know, just kind of a who's who in Michigan. And, you know, at the same time, you know, from the out-of-towners, we've got international board members, you know, here. I mean, you know, Katrina, we've got Sam, and we've also got George, and we've got spouse of a international board member with Amelia, and then Eye of the Tiger, the employees, great volunteers from all over the world, membership chairs in various districts, and it really is the best of the best. And in fact, to have 8 sites and to have 2 captains on each team, that's 16 people that are really all-stars, coming in from out of town. And frankly, I don't think there's been a better team present in one place at one time in membership and club opening than right here in beautiful Detroit. And really that, makes sense with this being the home of our first club. And, what, can you say, I know you've paid it back by going out to other districts, but what can you say to those 50 people that have come in from other districts to help Larry Memmer and the Michigan Memmer Machine out to open 8 clubs?
Well, the people that have come in, I've met most of you in other events over the last couple of years that I've visited. So it's a thrill to have you back here, and I think it's a great learning experience when you, as we noticed tonight in our kind of our wrap-up session, there was a lot of things that were talked about of how memberships and members were recruited. So I think all of us learn every time we do one of these, the different things that you can do to recruit members for a club opening event. To answer your question about Mount Michigan and why I think we're very successful, and I'm proud of Michigan, is the fact that we've had our past governors, our Greg Smith, our executive secretary, all our people work together, and we're a team. And I think I'm very proud of the fact that we are able to bring you at. Past Governor Marion O'Higgins is here, and Greg, and we have some other governors with us, and it's just been a thrill. And I can't say enough about Cindy Padilla, who is our membership chair. She worked tirelessly on putting together the appointments and working side by side with me, and it's been a dedication, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah, and I think there's been over 140, 150 appointments made, and today 66 people were signed into Michigan Kiwanis through the efforts of the team that's here. And Larry, I might be slightly off the number, but I'm thinking that now that you've done that, and if you continue that pace for a year, that would be about 24,000 Kiwanians joining Michigan Kiwanis. And I know that you're quite capable of keeping that pace up,
Right. Right.
So can we count on that? Okay, great.
Oh, yeah, you can count on it.
You're all witnesses, folks. So, but the Memmer Michigan Machine. So, but the thing is that I don't think there's any better example of 1 + 1 = 3 than right here. What we're doing between the Michigan team, the out-of-town dedicated Kiwanians, and their efforts together definitely is an example of synergism and accomplishing more than individually either of those groups could do. And the way that I think that really pays off is that when the people that are here that gain the experience and the confidence, that they'll go back to their districts and open more clubs and increase our impact in terms of Kiwanis. And frankly, with the 8 clubs you get here this week, the 2 that you got earlier on a visit from the Eye of the Tiger team that you were intricately involved in as well, and then with the other 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10 clubs that you're going to open, I mean, I think we're looking at a 16 to 20 new club year in Michigan, and frankly, I think that probably could very easily lead the Americas for sure. You may not take on the Philippines yet, but we'll wait till next year with that number of 66 members a day, right? So what do you see in terms of the impact of this and your emphasis this year on membership? How does that bode for the future, do you see, in the Michigan district?
Well, I think it bodes very well because I think we're on a track now to increase our membership. We've worked hard at it for the last 2 years, in fact, the last 3 years, because we've had governors who have been dedicated to the fact of increasing our membership and opening new clubs. I think this is a new record that we'll have this year, and I'm proud of it, and I'm proud of the people who have been here to do it. I've talked to 2 or 3 of our people from Michigan who, the first time they've been out, and they're about as excited as I can explain because they now know what the process is, they know how to go about recruiting, and they will take that back to their clubs, and we'll start to open other clubs throughout the year. So we're not done. We have a few more on the books yet this year that I hope to accomplish. So. we're excited about it.
And certainly, I think the baton between Marianne O'Higgins and you was handed off very well, and I'll look forward to you doing the same thing with Sarah Q as the next year moves in. And that's the way that we really have to make things continue on, is that we have to have the cooperation and teamwork between leadership at the top of a district like Michigan, and certainly that's what makes us stronger as an organization. So I do want to thank you for your hours of work and putting up with phone calls with Jim Rochford and Kendra Skidmore and Brian Turnlinger, and I won't let you comment on which of the three would be the most harmful to your well-being out of those three, but certainly, I think that helped in terms of an accountability check. And the one thing I know about Larry Memmer, nobody is more dedicated or hardworking in getting the job done than Larry Memmer, and so got a lot of respect for him and appreciate your dedication and finish the year strong. And let's finish this week out and get 8 clubs on the board for Larry Memmer.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Great. All right. So, and Larry is one of a kind, and we can all be thankful for that, Larry. So, but he's done a great job in putting this team together. Next up, we have another classmate, actually, of Larry Memmer that we're going to talk with, and that's a guy who has another effort coming up the first week of June in beautiful New Jersey. And unlike Michigan, it has had a pretty good, in their genes, so to speak, new club opening has been a part of the culture in this district. In New Jersey, not quite as much. And I think that the governor that's coming in, along with his predecessor, is changing that culture. And that's why they're getting a mini-blitz the first week of June with 3 club sites. So I want to bring in Bill from New Jersey, and looking forward to talking to him. Come on in, Bill. All right. So just to set the stage for Bill, and as governor-elect, we were coming out there to open a club, and it was at the back end of a club opening in New York, and it was a short drive over to New Jersey. And Bill was the kind of the brains behind putting together the site that we were going to go out in last Kiwanis year. And the people in his club literally kind of hassled him because he picked a site in a neighboring community from his club. And people in his club said to him, well, why would you go ahead and choose that site instead of saving that for next year when you're the governor? And as an act of class and an act of somebody that wants to do what's best for Kiwanis, Bill's response was, hey, I got the international president come in. I want to take him to the best chance of a place to get a club open in 2 days, and that's this site. And Bill, I want you just to comment on that for a second, that that's a true conversation and that you followed through on that.
Yeah, actually, I knew it was a really good site because it was based on an orphan key club that we had been managing for a number of years. And knowing the club pretty well, I was a key club advisor for Kiwanis, knowing the situation pretty well, I knew we could probably build a club when they were ready. And when we first took over the management of that key club, I asked the faculty advisor at the key club whether we could do anything along the lines of going into Kiwanis with that community again. And at the time, her response was, no, we really don't need your help. So I said, okay, we'll wait and see. And a few years later, that kind of turned around when we really did a lot more work together. So I would say one thing I found that you want to look for is this orphan key club situation.
Yeah.
Get a club back in their community, and it'll really work well for them. But to Jim's point, rather than save that for my year, my predecessor, who is Rosemary Orsley, needed to develop clubs. It was time to do that club, and there was no particular reason why we shouldn't do it at the right time instead of for a particular person. So we went ahead and developed that club.
That's great. And that was an active class, and again, that cooperation that we need to have from one year to the next and not have the mentality of my year, your year, and certainly you and Rosemary cooperated very well on that effort. And frankly, we ended up having the Key Club advisor, the assistant advisor, and then the Builders Club advisor that was involved in that community join as well. And so you kind of had a who's who of our service leadership programs cooperating as well. And really, that was part and parcel of the pre-work that you did in kind of setting the table to be able to go after the low-hanging fruit.
Right, right.
And so, basically, interestingly, New Jersey has over 7 key clubbers for every Kiwanian in the New Jersey district. And actually, that is the highest percentage of key clubbers to Kiwanians in any district in the world. And so you can look at that one of two ways. You can say, hey, what a great job New Jersey's doing on key clubs. Or you could look at it and say, well, maybe not what we need to be doing in terms of membership in our Kiwanis clubs to support the best thing that we do, bar none. And so what I'm seeing, and this is how Bill gets a visit from the Eye of the Tigers again for a 3-site effort, is because of his dedication that he demonstrated last year, and that brings in a visit. And so why don't you tell us briefly about the 3-site visit and what you have planned for that trip?
Right. So 2 of the sites, one being Montclair, New Jersey, and the second being Verona Cedar Grove, had clubs in the past. They aged out, and there was no reason for the clubs to go away because the service was still needed in the community. What we saw after these clubs aged out and were closed were the key clubs that they sponsored both lost their charters. And one of those clubs came to my club. So we now had a couple of clubs outside of our community, and my club only has 30 members. So you're talking about a heavy lift to handle all of these SLPs. So the first idea is let's revitalize the Kiwanis organization in these communities. If you knew the area the way I do, you'd know that the communities I'm talking about are very vital and can easily support Kiwanis clubs. The last one, which is Tenafly, New Jersey, is in a county known as Bergen County. And Bergen County is the most populous county in the state of New Jersey. And they have no Kiwanis clubs. It's been that way for a couple of decades now, and that's going to change. They've got to change. They used to have clubs, and it's completely died off. So we got to change that.
Sure, and we certainly appreciate you in continuing to hone your skills by coming to Michigan and helping out your classmate Larry Memmer and working out today. And you were out in the field and had a successful day, I believe, in this effort, right?
Not bad, not bad.
So, and I've also heard that that you had some sort of presentation or something that you wanted to say. What do you have up your sleeve?
Yeah, I guess I was solicited to join a club last night, and it was at the bar, so I didn't really know whether this was the real thing. But Alan Geyer came over along with his crew and kind of suggested that I join the Eye of the Tiger Kiwanis Club, which is
all right.
Which is designed, and you guys correct me where I go wrong, but it's designed to support exactly the type of efforts we're having here in Michigan right now, and spread the word and the action on club blitzing, so that the entire Kiwanis organization can do this and successfully increase our membership through the development of new clubs. So I'm going to join the club, and this will get to be quite a tax deduction after a while. It's true that we can still deduct charitable contributions against our taxes, even with all the other changes. So I'm happy to do this.
All right, fantastic, and welcome aboard. And, yeah, it's great, and your leadership is going to lead New Jersey, I think, to a different level. Really appreciate that, and certainly the Eye of the Tiger E-Club does have a focus of encouraging club opening, but particularly even at international conventions where they speak English, of going out in the field and opening clubs. So, we'll see you for sure, maybe Indianapolis next year out in the field, if not in Orlando yet this year. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so thank you and keep up
Okay.
the good work, and I look
Jim,
forward to
thank
seeing
you.
you in
Absolutely.
June.
Yeah,
All right.
it'll be fun.
All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. And next up, we have we now had 2 governors from the year of 1819, and we're going to bring in a governor from the year of 1718. And this is a lady who has quietly, kind of like a quiet assassin. She's just continued to quietly move up on the charts, both in terms of her expertise and results that she gets in new club opening. And you know, frankly, I have a tendency to, let's bring in Juanita Edwards here before I talk about her behind her back here. So Juanita Edwards, come on down. Good to see you. All right. So, you know, I would rank out my governors last year in the club openers. And, you know, there was a show called Get Smart, and Barbara Felton, you know, played Agent 99. And so when we opened the club you know, I kind of handpicked a president on a site down in Georgia during Juanita's year as governor. And she kind of pulled me aside and you know, was given the job of questioning me on the person that I had kind of tabbed to be the charter president. And so I listened very politely to her, and I said, thanks, you know, for your input. And, you know, hey, I said, you know, this guy is really outstanding. And at the end of the meeting, when he had, you know, gave his talk, he started crying. I mean, and he was such a great leader for that club. And, but, you know, Juanita asked me, well, where am I at in the rankings? And I said, well, you're Barbara Felton. You're number 99. You're the 99th best opener in the Kiwanis world. And so I would refer to her affectionately as 99 then when I would see her, and nobody would know what we were talking about except the 2 of us. And yet she slowly moved up on the ranks. And in fact, she finished strong, getting up into double digits, and kind of her Bobsy twin and you know, sister in crime, Katrina Barranco, they finished strong, you know, at the end and got Georgia up to 10 new clubs and did a great job. And, you know, frankly, this year, as kind of immediate past governor, you haven't stopped. And, you know, you've continued, you were intricately involved in the effort down in Georgia where we opened 5 clubs. And frankly, that's the most ever opened in 1 week on one of the mega efforts, you know, ever since we started them. And that's going to be the record holder until this week, when Larry Member blows by you with 8, and he might move up to number 98, you know, with that kind of effort.
New challenge.
Yeah, but the thing is that, you know, really your dedication of not stopping after your year of leadership and continuing to give back and work hard, and not just in your own district, but you've been in a number of the mega events. And why don't you explain why you've continued to keep doing that?
You know, when you came to Georgia, now this was December of 2017, you know, and I'm thinking, you know, this is not really what I like to do. This, you know, I'm going to have to go out here and cold call. And that first day, what do they do to me? They partner me with Jim Rochford. So I have this little 2-seater car, and here we go. But you learn so much. And if you weren't comfortable before, by the time Jim has mentored you and showed you how to do, and you learn what to say and when to say, you're okay with it. You get comfortable. And, you know, it was one of those processes where I enjoyed the experience from the standpoint of one of the neatest things about Kiwanis is all the people that you meet, and what's good about these communities, the excitement. The people get excited about this new Kiwanis club we're going to do, you know? And so we organized that one in, it was a city called Johns Creek, Georgia, right out from Atlanta area there. And, you know, some of the other blitzes that I've been on, it's the relationship with the Kiwanis members. And like I say, the excitement that you feel in these club openings. And we were down in Sarasota area this last month. And again, such a good time. And so I just like to have the fun. I think that's the part of it I like the best.
It's great, and yeah, you've done a great job, and you know, you and I have had the opportunity to work together since then, and your growth, you know, has been unbelievable. I mean, you were 99 for quite a long period of time last year, but you almost can chop off one of those nines, and probably are in the top 10 openers perhaps in the Kiwanis world, and that's phenomenal growth. And you and I were out in Georgia
Yes.
this year again, and I kind of felt like I had to start taking notes on what you were saying, so that I could pick up some pointers. And you were kind of kicking butt and taking names, as I recall.
Well, I had a good teacher,
Well, and, don't tell that to Katrina. So, but the thing is that you've also gone out and you've shared your skill, your talent, and your dedication. Sarasota was an effort where we got 140 members in 1 week in Florida. You've been in many other club openings over last year and this year, and that's really the spirit that you've displayed is something that I'm proud of, because you haven't just been hogging it for your district.
Right.
You've been paying back the other districts that came in and helped you both last year and this year in Georgia. And I mean, why do you do that? I mean, you're kind of retired, I would say, right?
I'm kind of retired.
Yeah, yeah, and so, but yet you could be, sipping, some sort of imbibing in some drink with your husband and relaxing at the country club or
Yeah.
whatever. But instead, you're out here in Michigan, helping Larry Memmer, and actually you're on the same team with Larry, right?
Well, hey, when you got a good teammate, you like to hold on to him. But Larry has partnered with me in other cities, other blitzes, and so he's another good example of knowing what to say and how to say, and really working the process and making things happen.
So we're kind of putting the band back together here
We
in
are.
Michigan, aren't we?
Yeah, that's right.
So, but you've really come a long way, and appreciate your staying in there. And don't you have a title in the Georgia district this year related to membership?
Well, I am, of course, the immediate past governor of Georgia District right now, but starting Andy Pipkin's year for the 1920 year, I will be the new club opener for the Georgia District.
And do you think that Georgia can open more clubs than Kentucky, Tennessee, and Kendra Skidmore?
Of course we can. Now, we beat Dale Hawkins my year, so.
Well, I mean, that's like child's play. I mean, now you're welcome to the majors now.
No, well,
but,
now, see, I challenged Dale right when you had us up there
Yes.
doing our governor training,
Yeah.
and so I knew I had a big challenge ahead of me. But now, like Kendra's, she's a pretty formidable foe, so
Yeah.
we're going to have to use some real strategy.
yeah, we want to start talking money about Georgia versus Kentucky, but they do have Agent 99 on the
Absolutely.
Georgia team, so that's
Yes, they
pretty
do.
powerful. So thank you, and keep
Thank
up the
you.
great work, and we appreciate your efforts. let me
Appreciate
just
you.
say.
Ken.
So, basically, we have one more interview, and then we'll take a few questions. And the interview is with the IT genius behind these on the roads, and this is a guy that actually did this for a living, and yet is volunteering his services here. And it's none other than Gary Levine. Paid no attention to that man behind the camera, and so we're going to bring Gary in here to kind of share a little bit of his wizardry with us here. So, Gary Levine. All right, good to see you. Yeah.
Jim, it's good to be here.
Yes, and Gary, I know you're captaining a side along with your partner in crime, Katrina Baranko, and frankly, out of the 8 sides, 6 of them are opening on Wednesday night, and yet your side is opening on Tuesday night. What kind of pressure do you feel when you've got to get 15 or more members signed up in 2 days?
Well, working with a team like I have here, it's only a good kind of pressure. I've had an opportunity to work with Katrina numbers of times before, and let me tell you, everything in Kiwanis is a learning experience. I have learned as a dutiful student how to speak Southern. Katrina has taught me how to mash buttons. She's taught me almost to eat and enjoy grits. And let me tell you, Jim, my heart has never been blessed so many days as it has since knowing Katrina. It's been great.
Now, have you taught Katrina anything about the process?
Well, Yeah, it's the process of the process, I suppose.
Okay, so, I mean, what a team. I mean, that's kind of like frick and frack, man, I'm telling you, but.
But on a serious note, though, here in Michigan, we are very fortunate to have Kiwanian Lori on our team. She knows the community intimately well. She's made a huge number of calls prior to this engagement. She's made an awful lot of appointments for us, certainly the lion's share of appointments, and knows a lot of the people personally. So it's been a really good experience, and my proverbial hat goes off to Lori for the great effort that she's done.
Yeah, thank you, Lori, yeah. And it's good comment. Now, did Lori get the memo yet about moving to the other site that's opening Tuesday or not, tomorrow? Did she get that?
No.
Okay.
I think I got that memo and I buried it into
Okay,
a
all right.
round filing cabinet.
Okay, sounds good. So, yeah, you I know had a double-digit day on applications, and maybe ended up with your lucky number 13, and and that's certainly for a day's work is pretty darn good, don't you think?
Well, it is, and it really is my lucky number as well, because later this month, May 13th, happens to be my wife's birthday.
Oh, wow.
So it's a number that's ingrained in my memory, and I do like to think of it as a good lucky number, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I think you should get her a Kiwanis membership for her birthday. So, but try to remember. Yeah. So, yeah, the thing is that you do spend part of your year in Canada and then part of your year in Florida, and yet it seems like almost every opening that we have that Gary Levine is there. And frankly, on the megas, that your team consistently, time in and time out, seems to have a great result and open, in 2 days in more cases than not. And what do you attribute that to? Do you think that you're buying off the people that are signing the team? Are you really paying Larry Memmer with a Michigan Minute under the table? Or
It's
what's
those
happening?
$2 bills that we're handing out.
Yeah. So, but I mean, what do you attribute that to? I mean, do you think that you get the good people, or do you think that that Katrina is carrying you, or what's actually happening here? So.
Well, Katrina's definitely carrying me. There's no question about that. And we do have good people. But it's a learning experience each and every time. We just came back from Baltimore Blitz there, had a great experience down working with some really dedicated Kiwanians, and they started off by saying that they really wanted to learn. They thought of themselves as almost like open books, if you like, and we're really, really happy to learn the process that you've introduced us to through the Eye of the Tiger. So, and we did that, and we talked about that, and even today here in Michigan, I had a chance to go out with Governor Tim from the Rocky Mountain District. I had a chance to go out with Governor Faith from Ohio, and also with the regional membership chair from the Capital Region as well. And as we went from call to call, some were successful, some were not successful, but we talked about them and tried to turn them into learning experiences to see what worked, what didn't work, and that's kind of what it's all about. I mean, it was great earlier today seeing Governor Bill from New Jersey present you with the certificate into our Eye of the Tiger E-Club. And that's not because it's a numbers game and we're just trying to be the club in CNH with most growth. But we may be. But it's because it's indicative of the willingness and the desire of Kiwanians to embrace the Eye of the Tiger process and really get on board with new club opening. And that's something we hadn't seen in the past. It's something that you introduced last year to all of us in the Kiwanis world. It's something that we're furthering with events like this. And I see only really good times ahead.
That's great. And, frankly, you're the current president of the Eye of the Tiger E-Club, and certainly, run the meetings that are on monthly and communicating. You're actually opening a couple of clubs down in the Orlando area prior to the convention this coming year, and certainly, we really, if we're going to talk about that, we need to at least mention Larry Taylor and the unfortunate passing of Larry, who was really the mastermind of the opening that we had down in the Sarasota area with 140 members, and but yet, kind of as a tribute to Larry, I think you're moving forward and still opening a couple of clubs during the week of their national convention, and you wanted to say a couple words about that.
Sure. Certainly for Kiwanians who didn't have an opportunity to get to know Larry, as many of us have, I mean, he was a young, vibrant, dynamic, energetic, a personality, just a real go-getter. He was probably the most enthusiastic new club opener next to yourself, Jim, that I've had a chance to meet and get to know. And his loss, it's a great loss to all of us, his death.
Yeah.
But we're moving forward with the club opening blitz in Orlando prior to the International Convention, if you like, in tribute to Larry, because we know that that's exactly what he would want us to do. So we're going to do it.
Yeah, and that's great. And, frankly, Larry Taylor already had his flight ticket and was going to be a co-captain on a team in this effort. And, again, he was just that kind of person. He was really larger than life in the sense of the impact that he would have on people. And you and I spent many hours with him on the midwinter of Florida, where we were promoting the Sarasota effort. And really, there was nobody that I saw any more excited about coming to Michigan and being a part of this effort than Larry, and it was just a sad moment. So appreciate the fact that you're carrying forward in his honor and memory a club opening effort, and best of luck to you on that. You also want to talk about, you're kind of the guy that wrote the book, so to speak, on the opening effort and the system that we've been using now for the last year and a half. And why don't you say a little bit about that, but tell people how they can access that book and information if they would want to run that off and tell us a
Sure.
little bit.
Let me just clarify it. Whereas I may have put a pen to paper or fingers to a computer keyboard, you are the guy who wrote the book on it. Let there be no mistake about that. But that said, not everybody has an opportunity to take part in blitzes like this. Not everybody has an opportunity to work with members of the Eye of the Tiger team or Eye of the Tiger E-Club, even though it's expanding as it is. And people are wanting to learn the process, wanting to develop the process, and wanting to enhance and hone it for themselves so that they can make it work in their respective divisions and their respective districts. So to that end, we did think it was important to take what we do and put it down on paper. It's an evolving document, and just as what we do is an evolving process. But we did do that. We put it on paper, and we have a PDF file that's readily and freely downloaded by anyone in the Kiwanis world. You can access it by going to our club website. It is www.kiwanistiger.com. So you can see it there across the bottom of the screen right now.
Great. Fantastic. And the thing is that it really is nice for you to share that knowledge and put it in writing, so to speak. Now, I don't know if it's true, but some have said if I had actually written the book, it would be the size of War and Peace. And with you writing it, it's the Cliff Notes version of it. So we appreciate you making that concise.
But in fairness, that's because you're a lawyer?
Yeah.
And you're paid by the word?
Yeah, but I love lawyers. So, and Gary, we appreciate the hard work that you've done, on that. And, we also understand, I mean, this isn't the only club opening. In 2 weeks, you're going to be in beautiful Springfield, Illinois, and, working alongside your past international president when you were governor, Paul Palazzolo, and be down there helping opening clubs as well. And, you're going to be out in New Jersey, and, you're even going to other parts of anywhere where there's a need to open a club and to share some of your talents.
Kiwanis is where a need is served?
That's right, yes. And that's the acronym for Kiwanis is Kiwanis is where need is served, and you are a silver-tongued devil, Gary Levine. So, but the thing is that just want to say thank you, and I also know that these on the roads, you have done the new and improved model, and frankly, you've made it so you can even make Jim Rochford and Larry Memmer look good on video, and so we appreciate all the touch-ups that you're doing after we're here, and that's no easy job to make those guys look okay, right? I mean,
makeup, please, a little powder would be.
And so it really is an new and improved model with the IT wizardry of Gary Levine producing these. I know you go back and you had music, you had pictures and photos. You've had a picture of Polly up when we talk about him and give an update. And we just appreciate behind the scenes quietly, Gary Levine getting the job done to make this look more professional and to be something that hopefully people will enjoy hearing. And I just want to thank you for putting in all that time and those hours. So
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, thank you. So now at this point, typically we'll take a few questions. And I believe, Gary, you've got someone that has a first question to ask, and we'll see if we can answer it.
Yes. Jim?
Yes.
So a common thing, you've did so many of these, what is the most common objection people give for joining Kiwanis? And what is your response?
Okay, so the question was, what's the most common objection, doing a lot of these club openings that we hear, and what's the best way to kill that? And, frankly, I would say that the most common objection is probably time. That people will say, I'm busy, and in fact, this morning, Governor-elect Tim from CNH and my good partner in crime here from the Michigan district were out together, and a very busy lady that is opening a business and adding on to that business by opening a full service restaurant, said time. And frankly, my immediate response, and just depends on the individual and how they word it, but I said, well, if you want to get a job done, you give it to a busy woman. And and she just kind of smiled and and then kind of leaned forward, and it was kind of a turning point. And frankly, at every sales presentation that we're making about Kiwanis and why they should be a charter member of a new club, there's a turning point where you can kind of say, yeah, I think that they're on board with doing this. And that was her objection, and she is a busy lady, and she's running a great business, and she's adding on to it, and she's very successful. But it's absolutely true. If you want a job done, give it to a busy woman, and frankly, that does get the job done better. And so I find that the time, and the other part of that is that Kiwanis doesn't have any retribution for not contributing. We understand that your job, your family are going to come before Kiwanis. But in Kiwanis, we've never had retribution or fine people for missing a meeting or showing up late or things like that. We've tried to acknowledge them and recognize them for having perfect attendance. And you can have perfect attendance by making up a missed meeting by doing a service project. But we're more about the impact that we have through service rather than just attending a meeting. And frankly, everybody has time because the people we're talking to in their heart want their community to be better, particularly as it relates to our programs in the schools. So I think that's an easiest objection to kill. That's probably the most common objection that we do here. How about, is there another question?
We have another question from Lori Stillwell, our CKI administrator here in Michigan.
Hi, Jim.
How you doing?
Good.
Did Gary give you that email about the relocation of you?
No, he did not, but I will stay in Macomb Township tomorrow.
All right.
Quick question. Today, when we were out and about, a lot of people do not want to do the 4 meetings a month. And so they were kind of talking about doing like a morning meeting and then an evening meeting. Is that something that Kiwanis is going to instead of the traditional 4 meetings a month?
Yeah, great question, Lori. And the thing is I'll give you last year a statistic that's absolutely accurate. Last year we opened 411 new Kiwanis clubs. Out of those 411 new Kiwanis clubs, 1 club decided to meet weekly, which was kind of the old model. Now, I'm in the Kiwanis club that sponsored me in high school and Key Club, and we have over 100 members, and we've been meeting weekly since we started, and that club is actually 104 years old. But and no truth that I'm a charter member of that club, but the thing is that club, that works for them. But in today's times, with younger people that we're attracting to be members of our new clubs, that's not the right model. And so over 90% of the 411 new clubs last year decided to meet exactly what you're saying, a meeting twice a month. Now, interestingly, a surprisingly growing number of them did decide to meet on the model that you're suggesting, which is 1 meeting at one time, let's say a noon meeting or a breakfast meeting, and the other meeting an after work meeting. And the reason that I saw that happen is because they wanted to make it convenient so that maybe someone that, might be a school teacher that joined, or maybe somebody that's, running the library, and it's not good for them, at a noon meeting, that they kind of divided it up to have 2 times. And again, each club has to make that decision, but we're finding having flexibility and one size not fitting all is a better model for our Kiwanis growth. But absolutely great question, and thank you for your hard work and the results that you've led the way on this week here in Michigan. So any other question, Kendra? No. Yes.
We do. Greg Smith, the Executive Director of Michigan, has a question.
Great.
Hi, Jim. One of the steps they talk about in opening a new club is to join the local Chamber of Commerce. Could you tell us a little bit about why that's beneficial in that process of opening a new club? And then also, how can an existing club, by joining the Chamber, how can that benefit them if they want to expand their membership?
Great, good question. And, talking about the Chamber of Commerce, and, the thing about the Chamber of Commerce is that that's really your business community that's coming together and, try to, essentially work together and share thoughts and ideas that will be beneficial to businesses. And really, a main part of our Kiwanis membership is still the business community. And even though our service leadership programs in the schools is what we do best, and it is the best thing that we do, it happens in most clubs still because of the business community. And so the main, avenue for the business community to be together is in the Chamber of Commerce. And frankly, in Georgia, on the club that we talked earlier about with Juanita in Johns Creek, we actually went to a chamber event there and essentially got a chance as newbies in attendance to talk 2 minutes about Kiwanis. And then we broke out on tables and got to talk with the people at our table about what we were there for. And in the case of 5 of us, it was starting that new Kiwanis Club. Well, the charter president, came into our fold because of that meeting that we were involved in at that Chamber of Commerce meeting down in Georgia. So we have had many clubs that have decided that that is a good move to pay it forward, so to speak, by getting involved with the chamber. But even if they don't do it prior to forming a relationship with the intention of joining the chamber after the Kiwanis Club is actually up and running, is also a good move, because then you do continue to have exposure and opportunities to network and talk to other business people that have a like view of people in Kiwanis to make the community better. And so I think in the case of the community, and again, the community we're working in here has multifaceted layers that we're drawing off of. And so I'm sure that there's multiple chambers of commerce. And with the new club, probably can't afford to pay membership dues for all of them, but yet it is a unique opportunity to get to the prospects that we want to get to, and that's why I think it was a good move, and I think that probably you played a major role in that happening on the site that we're working on, so thank you for leading by example on that. And my sympathy goes out to you for rooming with Gary Levine, but another question, Kendra, or not?
Yes, Barb Thompson has a question.
Barb Thompson, come on down.
Hello, Jim.
Hello.
Someone from another district asked me, how can I get the Eye of the Tiger team to come to my district and do a blitz?
Yeah, great question, Barb. And, frankly, Barb Thompson, I have her on speed dial on my phone, and whenever we run into trouble on any district, between her and Kathleen Moylan and Dr. J and Kendra Skidmore, those 4 I like rely on all the time. And in fact, Barb stepped up even on this effort and made a few appointments. So thank you, Barb, for that. How do you get the Eye of the Tiger to come and visit you? And I fully believe that an important part of any successful organization is to have accountability. And accountability and transparency, I think, are both very important. And the reason they're important is that we shouldn't necessarily, come in and help somebody who isn't putting in the effort themselves to move their organization and district forward. So let's take Michigan, for example. Larry Memmer has gone out and gone to many other districts and helped them be successful in opening clubs. And Larry probably, of the current class of governors, had probably been involved in more new club opening efforts than any other governor in the current 18-19 class. And so the reason that Larry Memmer got Michigan at the top of the list is because of his dedication of unselfishly giving of his time to go to other places to help them have success on their new club opening efforts. So really, it was a payback to Larry for the hard work they did last Kiwanis year, as well as the current Kiwanis year in helping other districts. And so the motto really, I believe, needs to be that we reward those who are willing to help themselves, that they're willing to get out there and show the effort to get some results on the board, and then go in to help them get even more energy, more people on board, more people trained, more people with the self-confidence to go out and realize that new club opening is not as painful as a root canal, but rather it reinvigorates us every day that we go out about what we do in Kiwanis and why we need to spread that word through other new communities, and that will lead to more service leadership programs and have 1 + 1 = 3. So, Barb, Moark's a good example. Barb Thompson was a wrecking machine the last 60 days of last Kiwanis year. No one was going to deny Barb Thompson from leading by example to get her district up to 9 new clubs, and she put 3 clubs on her back and basically led the way on getting all 3 of those clubs open in the last 2 months in Missouri, Arkansas district. But besides doing that, she also went out about 6 or 7 times in the last 60 days to help other clubs get results as well. And that effort by Barb Thompson got a club opening effort in Missouri, Arkansas, which they got 2 vibrant clubs. There's some people that were involved in that because of what they showed on that effort that were invited here. And again, that's how we move things forward. So thank you, Barb, for what you've done, what the people you brought along from Missouri, Arkansas have done, and again, in making our organization even better.
So Jim, we have time for 2 more questions, and the next one comes from Joe Schwartz, Governor-elect from Kansas.
All right.
Hello, Jim. I wish you could explain to me the importance of having coaches at all these new clubs we're building.
Yes, great question, Joe. And appreciate your involvement in Wichita last week with 2 sites that, from every indication, they're both going to be fantastic clubs. And the one club has the superintendent and 3 principals in it, and you can't do any better than that. So thank you for your involvement. That's the side I believe that you were involved with. So, basically the coaching concept, and I'm going to use an example of myself. So in my year as governor, which was back in 01-02, and Sue Peterson was my classmate, we opened 20 Kiwanis clubs. And basically, I found that to be the easy part. Now, to this day, 8 of those 20 clubs are still in existence, 18 years later, and doing very well. All of them have produced a lieutenant governor. All of them have been distinguished clubs multiple times. But if I knew then what I know now, I fully believe 18 out of the 20 clubs would be open. And what I know is that you have to, have someone to nurture and bring along a new club, because there's no question that every new club is going to stumble and have some adversity. The question isn't whether or not they're going to have adversity, it's how you deal with that. And so I like to use the analogy of opening new clubs like having a baby. When you have a baby, you don't just bring the baby home. You've talked about beforehand the planning that Larry Memmer loves to talk about. You talk about what colors the nursery going to be, what kind of crib we're going to have, what kind of diapers are they going to wear, what kind of toys are we going to have. And then you don't bring the baby home from the hospital and say, hey, good luck, see you in 10 years. But frankly, in Kiwanis, we kind of did that. And we thought that the end was basically opening the club. But in effect, that's the beginning. And the end is to continue to recruit more members into that club and have some people with experience that can help, be a resource really for that club. And so minimum of 2 coaches is just an absolute requirement that we're using over the last year and a half. And, last year and this year are going to be 2 of the best years that we've ever had in our history in Kiwanis. And we had a net increase in membership last year. I think we're well positioned to have that happen again. And that's only going to happen because we have coaches, and we have coaches that are going to mentor those clubs to have them stay in existence for a long time and in years to come. And so thank you for what you've done, and hopefully keep the momentum going in the Kansas district.
The last question comes from Mitch Jobe, Lieutenant Governor from Texas, Oklahoma.
Jim, can you explain or suggest businesses to city services and rank them where you would stop as far as like your highest priority to spend your efforts as it goes down?
Yeah, and Mitch is one sharp cookie. He was out in Dallas with me, and frankly, you had to impress me quite a bit to get invited to one of these efforts when you're kind of a brand new person doing it. But Mitch was so astute in terms of when he went out in the field with me in Dallas just a few short months ago that he got his ticket punched to come here to Michigan. But today in the field, I saw him showing that same ability to read situations and really contribute very well. So the question is, what are the best prospects when we go into the community? Number one on the list, and there's absolutely no doubt about it, it's the schools. And what we need to do, I believe, to move forward in our Kiwanis growth is we need to grow not just our Kiwanis Club, but we need to grow our service leadership program simultaneously. And so last year, what we did at Governor-elect training is we gave all the list of orphan key clubs out to every governor. And we said, we don't decide where we're going when we come into a place, but we said, this is a list of places we believe that there's a need. And an orphan key club would really be a place where there's a Kiwanis club that might be helping out, but it's not from the same community as the school. And that's what we define truly as an orphan key club. And so going to the superintendent and going to the principals is really the number one prospect. Closely after that, the library. And the library, because of the needs that they're meeting by getting youth to get involved in reading and improving their skills. And we have a number of ways that a Kiwanis Club, a new Kiwanis Club, can come in and recognize the summer reading program and bring in ice cream and toppings and reward those who achieve their goal. Then the next group is banks. And banks have an obligation to give back to the community, but I find that bankers quite often are very kind-spirited people that want to give back, and they're invested in the community because of their occupation. And so we need to have the banks on board. And then there's the insurance. And certainly there are certain insurance companies that have joined many, many times. I have some insurance companies that have signed more than 50 members up to be a member of Kiwanis in a new community. And then let's not leave out the realtors. The realtors are usually movers and shakers in the community. And then there's a few companies like Edward Jones that have a business model that's very conducive to being in a Kiwanis Club and giving back. And so those would be some of the highlights. There are some not-for-profits, and Kendra is particularly good at closing not-for-profits to be a member, and whether it's Habitat for Humanity or whether it's Salvation Army, Boys and Girls Club. There's many places that we have partnerships with even in Kiwanis that are also good prospects. And that would kind of be the pecking order starting with the schools. And frankly, if I came into a site and had nothing but school appointments and the libraries that I was going to, I would be one happy puppy and feel like, really I'd kind of died and gone to heaven, because those are the people we need to talk to make a Kiwanis Club vibrant. So great question, Mitch, and appreciate your being here. So that's our last question, Kendra, right? Okay, so thank you. And, frankly, just a few closing comments. Right now we are coming in at the end of April at 210 Kiwanis Clubs. By the end of the month of May, with the 8 that we're going to get in this week from Michigan, and with the other things that I'm aware of that are going on and other openings, there's one in West Virginia coming up, there's one in Illinois, Eastern Iowa coming up. We should probably end up somewhere between 240 and 250 clubs, at the end of May. And then we have, the opening in New Jersey, New England, and, Florida that's coming up in June. And we have a number of other openings planned in July. And then August and September are traditionally the two strongest months of the year in new club openings. So the table is really set, I think, very well to have this year end up at 350 or more new clubs. And when you think about it, that would put this in the top 5 new club opening years in our history. And what a tribute to Paulie Latt and his legacy in terms of leadership. And certainly Asia Pacific has done their share this year, and certainly Philippines South and Philippines Luzon have been at the top of that list. But, you know, frankly, this is what we need to do each and every year. And if we want to, and Larry Memmer said it pretty darn well, if we want to grow, yes, we have to help existing clubs. We have to touch that base. We have to touch all the bases to get to home and cross home plate. But in order to be able to do that, besides helping the existing clubs, we absolutely have to open new clubs and spread Kiwanis to new communities, and that's what we're doing right here in beautiful Michigan. I thank you for your help. I thank you for what you've done. I thank you for what you're going to continue to do. And frankly, let's make sure that you also get on board and still sign up for the convention in beautiful Walt Disney in Orlando, Florida. Frankly, no place that you can have more fun, more family fun than Disney. And they're not running any Mickey Mouse operation down there. And you know, even though you may think that some people acted rather goofy tonight, that won't happen in Disney. So hope to see you down there. A lot of great educational forums. So thank you, and we'll see you next time when we're on the road. And keep up the great work. And thank you, Larry Memmer.